Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Today, we're proud to host Anna Gono. Anna Gono is the founder of Info of Zimbabwe, and she's an entrepreneur, an education consultant, a speaker and mentor with a background in IT. She's passionate about helping students, graduates, and families navigate educational opportunities, career pathways, scholarships, and international study options. Drawing from her experience in business, technology, and student advising, she also supports aspiring entrepreneurs and promotes practical strategies for personal and professional growth. Through workshops, consultations, and community initiatives, Anna is committed to expanding access to information and creating opportunities that transform lives. So for the sake of the presentation, all your cameras and your mics are on mute. However, towards the end of the presentation, we're going to activate all your cameras and mics, and then we're going to have a discussion part. So during the discussion, we're going to ask you all to be civil, right? We're all grown up, so be civil and to ask relevant questions and have a meaningful discussion. You can also contact Anna on her email address if you need any other further services. But for the sake of the discussion today, we're going to start. Unfortunately, Anna will not be on video, but we are going to see a presentation and hear her audio. So Anna, it's over to you, and welcome to the Zetara webinars.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming and taking time to hear my presentation, and I hope that it will be worth your time. So let me just share my presentation. Can you see the presentation, Brunette?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. So I'll start. I have very limited time, so certain things I'm going to be rushing through, and because I've shared this document with Brunette, and I don't know if she has your email addresses to be able to send to you guys. Are you able to do that?
Yes, we can send the document after the presentation to all participants. Okay. Thank you, Anna.
Okay, all right. So I'll mention the key points because I trust that you'll be able to read through after the session at your own time. But I want to appreciate you taking this time, and this is just generally how a scholarship journey begins. You need to attend 1 or 2 information sessions. So the reason why we titled it Building a Scholarship Worthy Profile is that for one of the reasons that I've seen a lot of people don't get scholarships is that they just think that you are going to submit your A-level results if it's high scholars or your bachelor's certificate and your transcript, and then you will get a scholarship. Maybe there was a time years ago where that was the case, but in the current world, there is just so much competition. So there's a lot that goes on in a scholarship application, but a lot of it rests on you as a person, on how you create the profile. How you do your actual application is much easier if you have a strong profile. So today we want to talk about the profile. We will not get time to discuss the actual application process in terms of this is what you do when you get to a portal, or how to answer certain questions, or how to write a personal statement and stuff like that, because those things are also broad on their own and they need proper topics and a proper presentation. But when you have a solid profile, you'll find that it becomes easier in terms of how you write a personal statement and how you complete an application. So let's start here. I always want to define a scholarship every time I do a scholarship presentation. Why? Because we need to be on the same page. There seems to be a misconception about what scholarships are based on, I think, the type of scholarships that a lot of people have been privy to, the ones that are coming from Cyprus, India, or China, where people are told 50%, 100%, whatever percent, and still you have to pay a lot of money. So a scholarship is a financial award given to a student to help them fund their education. It is not a loan. You don't pay it back. It is given on merit, financial need, field of study, background, or combination of these factors. But what I want you to understand, coming from our Zimbabwe, financial need is an assumption that most of us have. Like we somehow, we all, majority of us in Zimbabwe fall on the financial need category. So don't want to magnify that, because you are dealing with a population which is living below the poverty datum line, majority of our population. So if you think financial need will make you stand out, you are greatly mistaken. You are most likely going to be combining merit and financial need and field of study and a whole lot of these other factors, but not just financial need. No one is funding you because you are poor. People are funding you because they see potential in you, and they believe that if they give you the money, they are saving not only you, but a lot of other people in your community and in your country. So you are not being funded because you are poor, contrary to a lot of people believe. And I see it with so many messages that I get from people. Instead of just people telling me, oh, I have such a child and 15 points, or they have a first class degree, people will tell you a whole long list of problems. Whilst those things are valid, they don't really make a strong application anymore. Maybe it used to work years ago, but now the admissions officers, they are not concerned about your challenges only. They want to know what you have done in spite of your challenges. So there are types of scholarships: partial, full tuition, full ride, or fully funded. So partial is when they are covering part of your tuition and costs. So they will tell you maybe they're covering 10,000. They normally specify the amount. They're covering 15,000, and they will tell you that you need to cover certain balances. Or they'll say full tuition, meaning they're covering your fees, but they're leaving your cost of travel and your accommodation and all your living expenses. And then there's full ride. In America, that's where they call it full ride. In the rest of the world, we call it fully funded scholarship. This is where they cover everything. So I also want to add that it can be fully funded, and it leaves out your air travel and your visa application. So when they ask you to pay for that, you should be prepared for that, because sometimes they'll say reimbursement on arrival, or they don't even cover it at all. They expect you to then recover from the stipends that they are going to give you. So I've taken my time to specialize on fully funded scholarships. I don't do partial scholarships. I don't do full tuition scholarships unless it's just special arrangements. I've taken time to learn and study how these fully funded scholarships work. Why? Because I realized that most of the fees that remain when you get a full tuition or a partial scholarship in these first world countries, they're just still above what a lot of Zimbabweans can afford. So I've taken time to say, okay, fine, I'll focus on this, as difficult as it is, but I know if you get really a hack and you manage to hack them, they change lives. So that's what I do. I don't do partial scholarships at all. So I think I've mentioned this, that there's misconceptions that people think scholarships are for poor people. So I get this a lot, even for local scholarships. You find that parents will see a scholarship, like I shared on my channel for USAP, and they'll just say, oh, these are for poor people, right? They'll see a scholarship like Econet, they'll say they're for poor people. And even on the flyer for the Higher Life Foundation, there's no way where it says poor people or underprivileged, whatever. They are talking about academic excellence. And what I have noticed is that when you are from grade 1 to form 4, that's where people are funded based on your financial circumstances. So BEAM, your Comforts, your Plan International, they fund students whether they are good at school or they are not. If you are an orphan or double orphan, or you are seriously underprivileged, they will fund you even if the grades are not great. But post Form 4 going forward, we are now looking at more. They now want more than your poverty, more than your circumstances. What are you able to do? They are asking, why should we invest in you? So there's this thing where people think, Kuti, I just need the link because there are people somewhere that are sitting with money that are just going to fund you because they just heard your story that you are poor and they'll find you. No, 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 no. The scholarships are investments. They are not charity, right? They are funding you because they see potential that you are most likely going to be a world changer. So they are not giving you a free money. It's not free money. You are working for that money by your profile. How you are working for the money is your what? Is your profile. The things that you are doing to earn that scholarship is how you are paying for that scholarship. So I've also seen that I get a lot of people that come and say, Anna, my child has been admitted at University of Minnesota, but we're now looking for a scholarship. That's not how you look for a scholarship. You apply to institutions that are funding, because funding does not just exist anywhere. Institutions like Mastercard Foundation, Chevening, Fulbright, and all the scholarships that you've heard that are being funded by other institutions or even universities that fund, they have a relationship. So Mastercard Foundation, like in Africa, it's funding at University of Pretoria, it's funding at UCT, it's funding at Africa University, it's funding at Ashesi in Ghana, they are funding at Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, they are funding at Kenya, and so forth. So they have a relationship with those universities, and they have like a list where they have an agreement to say for 10 years, we are giving you $2 million to fund these fields of study. So you are not going to just apply to University of Edinburgh and then start looking for a billionaire somewhere to fund you. It doesn't work like that. You have to understand where the funding is and apply there. So why should you build a strong profile? So I want you to see these questions, right? I'm not going to answer them. I'm just going to read a few. The other ones you read on your own. For example, there's this connect the dots. It's for Stanford. It says, how have the influences in your life shaped you? There's this one is Humphrey Fellowship. It says, describe a problem or challenging situation that you took initiative to resolve. What steps did you take and what was the outcome? Please select an example that illustrates something that you want the review panel to know about your problem-solving skills, leadership abilities, and or commitment to public service. You read the other ones. These are examples of questions that you are being asked in a typical scholarship application. How would you answer them today? So the good thing is you are here today to learn, so that when you come out of this meeting, you start asking yourself, how will I answer this question? But even a greater question to ask is, what do I need to do to answer these questions well, right? And this is what we're going to be talking about. So a solid scholarship profile is a combination of these things. It has academic excellence, it has leadership, it has community service, it has work experience, entrepreneurship or research, it has awards and achievements, it has a clear career vision. I'm not saying all profiles must have all of these 6 things. Don't get me wrong, right? Because I know sometimes someone will be thinking, I don't have work experience, so I'm not scholarship worthy, or I don't have leadership, so I'm not scholarship worthy, and stuff like that. But what you need to understand is that each and every scholarship has what we call their values. They have the things that they are looking for. So you need to understand the scholarships that exist, so that when you do a self-awareness, you'll be like, okay, fine, I don't have work experience. So which scholarships don't value work experience, right? Or I don't have community service. Which scholarships don't value that? Which value academic excellence? There are scholarships that just want first class degree holders. I know there's one in Netherlands, I think. They want first class. All the other things, they really don't care about them. They just want first class degree holders. So if you've got a first class, that university should be your number one priority, right? Then there are scholarships like your Erasmus. They don't really care much about your community service, leadership, and whatever. They are also concerned about your academic excellence. Those things are additions, but they really are looking at your academic excellence. They also don't really care about work experience. You can apply for an Erasmus scholarship straight after uni, like you're graduating, the next cycle of Erasmus, you can apply for an Erasmus scholarship, right? Then there are certain Mastercard Foundation scholarships as well that don't care about experience at all. Generally, they are caring about your leadership, your academic excellence, your awards, and community service. Some of them they care, some don't. So you need to really identify where can you place yourself in terms of the current, but at the same time you're also working at how you can improve these things. So now I want us to really look at what do I mean by this academic excellence, leadership, and stuff like that. I have okay, let me do this. I had forgotten the slide, and then we'll move to the next. So key documents. Key documents that you need for a scholarship application. You need a CV or resume. You need a motivation letter or personal statement. People use them interchangeably. You may need writing samples for people that are applying for research programs or programs that have a lot of writing, like in most of the humanities programs, they need writing samples. You need your academic transcripts and your certificates. You need a statement of purpose. You need your recommendation letters. You need a research proposal. Recommendation letters are very important. Why it's important that you start preparing for a scholarship profile early. A recommendation letter, you work for it. Most students in high school and in universities, they seem not to understand the importance of a recommendation letter. It is one of the top 3 documents. The others are your grades, your statement of purpose, or your motivation letter, and your recommendation letter. These are the top 3 documents in any application. And the most underrated is the recommendation letter. The recommendation letter is written ideally by someone that spent a lot of time with you, which is like your teacher in high school or your supervisor for dissertation in uni or one of your lecturers. It is important that you know who to write the recommendation letter, because a lot of people have recommendation letters written by your vice chancellor in uni or your headmaster at high school. Those people don't know you. I know there are schools that we've been battling in Zimbabwe who say headmaster is the one who writes the recommendation letter. Please, parents that are here, it is your job to go and request and tell them that no, where we are applying the recommendation letter, we need it written by this particular person. And also, most recommendation letters now, they are submitted without you really reading them. So you add an email address on the portal and it's sent directly. So I need you to know that. So it has to be people that you have a great relationship with and that you know will write things that represent you well. But the most important thing is also that your recommendation letters must affirm things that are in your resume, things that are in your personal statement, things that like are in your transcript. You can't be saying that you were good at statistics and mathematics and something like that, and your headmaster is saying you were good at something else, or your dissertation person is saying something completely different to what you said in your personal statement. They have to equal the same thing and really affirm that you are as excellent as you have been saying in your letters, right? Okay. So this is the difference between an undergraduate application and a postgrad applicant in terms of what the admissions committees are looking for. So the key difference with undergrad and postgrad is, for undergrad, they just want to see the potential and see that there's future potential because you're still coming from high school. But for postgrad, if you're applying for a master's or a PhD, they want to see evidence. You can't just be saying, oh, when I get money, I'll do this, or when I do this, I'll do that. No, they want to see what you've been doing. So for undergraduates, they're concerned about grades, standardized tests like SATs in other countries, leadership potential, extracurricular activities, community service, and future potential. In postgrad, they want to see the academic record, standardized tests, work experience, research, publications sometimes, it's not all the time, professional leadership, evidence of impact. And I want to talk about academic performance as well, because I know someone will be thinking, oh, I'm a, I'm a B student or I'm a C student. How do I then justify my application? Or I got a 2-2 or a third class degree. How do I justify? It means I can't apply. No, you can validate yourself through standardized tests. Why standardized tests? A standardized test uh, is an exam where they're saying that in Zimbabwe, you're writing ZimSec or you're learning at UZ. In South Africa, you're doing Matric or you're at UCT. In the UK, you're at Oxford, and they're doing their curriculum there. So it's not easy for us to compare, right? It's not easy for the admissions officers to come and determine to say the things that we do here in Zimbabwe, Kuti, second class, Yeku use it is better than a first class, Yeku Buse. Those are just vibes we do on social media. When they are assessing universities admissions officers, they're just using the grades, the university grading system. They don't even know that there's a battle between Buse and UZ and CAT and MSU and or that UCT is better ranked and whatever. They don't look at all that. They're just looking at your transcript and the modules that you did and the grades that you got. So when they want to compare you fairly, they created this standardized test. In some places they are waived, but when you are doing scholarships, I recommend that you write these exams. They really cement your potential. So you will write SATs, you will write GRE or GMAT for the postgrads, right? These are optional in some places, in some countries. But if you are targeting top universities or the US or Canada and stuff, you'll find that most top universities require, and specific programs, especially in STEM, they will require these standardized exams. So you will need to write. Most waiver in the humanities side, but on the STEM side, you most likely will need to write one. And I don't work with students that don't write. I make sure people write because I don't want to be restricted in terms of where we are applying or which universities we're applying. We just want to be applying everywhere without thinking twice. So you can make up for that low GPA on the academic performance by doing standardized tests. You can also make up with your personal statement. Like you can explain your circumstances. Like I had a student who lost a parent when they were in Form 4. So they didn't have good grades in Form 4 because of what happened during, like, I think they lost their parent in October. I think 2 days before exams, they actually went to write an exam before a burial or something like that. So you use circumstances. It can be an illness. It can be, a lot of factors that can affect your performance. So you explain those circumstances. It could be COVID, especially COVID years. A lot of people were just using COVID to explain how the COVID impact. And I know, like, for most US universities, they had a COVID section for every application where you explain how COVID may have affected your grades and your academics and stuff like that. So now it goes with how you are able to really present your story. So you can explain circumstances. There's a student as well that I know, they skipped I think 2 forms or so. So they didn't have like straight A's on their Form 4 and didn't have 15 points. But because they were younger, right? They were able to say, I didn't get straight A's, but I wrote where ordinarily people are writing at 18. I wrote this at 15 or something like that. So there are so many circumstances that you can use to explain your story. It's part of really what I do. I help students find ways, and in their story I ask questions to say, okay, fine, our application is weak here. How best can we really do it? And you can also prompt your AI to ask, if you really are working on your application, to say, how best can I justify this application? And sometimes you also explain to say, I may not have performed well like the overall degree class, but you're applying to a program, let's say that is quant heavy, and you did exceptionally well on your modules for quantitative analysis and stuff like that. So you can justify why you are applying. So another hindrance why people don't really get scholarships is that a lot of people are fixated on the countries that they know, right? So you want your America, or you want countries that absorb you post study. Whilst it's good to want that, but it's a narrow way of looking at things, because there is no there's no use this example in my consultations for students to say, look, you want to go from Harare to Bulawayo. The normal road, the fastest route to Bulawayo would be Bulawayo Road, but you can use Mashingo Road, do Mvuma, you end up getting there. It take you longer, but you'll still get there, right? So sometimes you may have to think strategically. How you think strategically is, you can say you're going to China or Japan or Singapore or UAE. You target top 50 universities in those countries. Why top 50 universities? Because they are pathways into first world countries that specifically take people that went to top 50 universities of the world. Some take top 100. I know Netherlands take people that did at top 200 universities of the world. So you think long term to say, okay, fine. If I go to Japan and I apply for the Japanese MEX scholarship, and I happen to get into University of Tokyo. University of Tokyo is a top 50 university, and in terms of innovation and technology, Japan is way ahead. So if I go there, the companies that most likely that I will intern when I'm studying this particular program at University of Tokyo, you can actually find that information online. Where do students from University of Tokyo who are studying artificial intelligence most likely to intern? That's the beauty of first world countries. They have all information available. Then you start checking. You can even check which Fortune 500 companies scout in China or Japan or Singapore, and at which universities do they scout at. And then you see those lists, you check for scholarships in that place. So there are people that I know who are now in the US. There's a student that I worked with years ago, went to Japan, and after finishing, they were taken by an institution in the UK, straight from Japan. So we limit ourselves because we just say, I want Australia. And I've heard this a lot. And I used to be, I'm a victim of the Australia syndrome, where I wanted to go to Australia. I didn't want anything else. And everything, there's nothing on Australia that I didn't read in terms of immigration. I read it all. And I would see pathways. I would try to see, okay, how do I do this? How do I do it? And we tried that. But it didn't work out. Why? Because it's generally not a country which is easy to penetrate coming from Zimbabwe, unless you have a particular skill, which is like you're an engineer, particular engineers with experience, by the way, and also maybe CAs and other professions, nurses and stuff like that, degree nurses and teachers and social workers with experience. So coming from an IT background, yes, they need IT professionals, but they'll prefer people that have worked in particular companies and stuff like that, for you to really get high points and all of that. So if I had probably taken an opportunity, which a friend of mine did, he went to the UK, got into the UK, didn't spend 6 months. From 6 months, he got an offer in Australia. Imagine. But we have these ideals that we've created, and they said, no, German, I don't want to learn language, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But those things, they affect. There are many, many other countries, like many Scandinavian countries and stuff like that. Yes, they may be cold and all of that, but it doesn't mean that you're going to go there to die. We are not trees. I like to use this explanation. We're not trees. We can move. You go there, you do 2 years in your master's, or you do 4-year undergrad, you move, you go to the next. If you do these things strategically, you'll be able to really navigate very well. Twadzai Mahere's brother called Tawanda Mahere went to China for his undergrad. He did economics and stuff like that, I think, in China. And then he from China applied to Stanford. And because of the experiences and the internships that he did in China, they made him stand out. Because in those institutions, they are able to really prepare students to be ready for masters, something that is really lacking in our institutions. Our high schools lack the capacity to train students for undergrad. Students are coming from high school with 15 points, and they don't even know what a single portal looks like. They don't even know what a scholarship application looks like. They know nothing. The same is happening for graduates, and it's really, really quite sad. But this is the situation in our country. But if you really go to these top institutions in those countries, you'll be amazed at things that you're gonna learn. Even your Indians and stuff like that. I have a student who picked up their ticket today. They got admitted at an Indian #3 university called Jamal something. I'm forgetting the name, but it's just third after the IITs. Because when they came to me asking me, I told them, look, this is the strategy. There's a fully funded scholarship there, the government scholarship of India. When you are selecting your university, select these ones and these ones and these ones. Select these programs. These will take you far. Because she didn't have extracurricular activities. She had nothing. So I'd said, it's either you're getting a gap year, or if you want to go this year, then you have to be prepared to these countries that don't really look a lot at your extracurricular activities, but they are looking more at your academic results. And so there is a strategy, and you have to choose what you feel you are able to do. But if you want these first world countries, please, please, please take note of this concept. There is a concept called acceptance rate, right? Acceptance rate just shows you the acceptability or the number of students that have applied versus the number of students that get a place. And most of the scholarships that your Chevenings, your Fulbrights, your Knight Hennessy, a lot of them, they have a less than 5% acceptance rate. So imagine that you're applying to something that, like Chevening is 2%. So for every 100, 2 are getting. The odds are against you unless you are the multi-fambers or you're willing to give yourself a year to work on your profile so that you fit this criteria. It's not impossible, but it really needs hard work and strategy. It goes beyond you just saying, oh, I volunteered at this place, or I did this, or I did that, right? You need to have the receipts, especially in 2026. You cannot make claims to say, I donated, I did this, I was part of this initiative, I did this, and you've got no digital footprint whatsoever. They would want to see proof. They want to see proof. And so have that self-awareness to say, am I top 5% of the world? Or how can I be top 5% of the world? Am I willing to work myself to be top 5% of the world? If I'm not, which other scholarships have better acceptance rates? Because they are there, but they may not be in the countries that you want. And like for undergrad, with the US, we had institutions called HBCUs, which stands for historically Black colleges and universities. Those have way, way, way better acceptance rate. You can find like a 60% acceptance rate, and most of our kids can be easily absorbed because they are universities that were originally made for Black people. So the next Black thing to a Black American is a Black African. So when Black Americans want to go to Harvard and your Ivies, those universities are looking at Africa and the Caribbean to get students. And also how university rankings work in the world is the number of students that start versus the number of students that graduate and all. So whilst you have your own GPA, universities also have their own GPA. So there are sometimes universities like in the US, in Canada, that are looking at improving their ranking. So they offer scholarships to African students because they know they'll come and do and perform very, very well in terms of their grades. They will definitely complete their studies and graduate, increasing that university's graduation rate and all of that. So all of these things, there is a lot in terms of technicalities that you need to understand when you are on this journey. It's not something that is an overnight thing, but it's something that you are able to do. There is no school where you are going to go and learn scholarship application or whatever, unless probably you attend my mentorship sessions and stuff like that. But most people that have won scholarships, they have worked, they've taken a year or two going through the processes. Some were privileged to get into universities that gave them guidance in terms of what they were doing. Some were also privileged to just have interest in things that make them scholarship ready, like your Olympiads and stuff like that. So I said this at the beginning, that it is important to attend webinars. So let's say you want, like I shared on my channel, I shared McGill scholarship. They have webinars. Chevening will have maybe about 10 webinars. They'll have like one every week until the deadline passes. Night Hennessy has, I think, every 2 or 3 a month, is something like that. So a lot of the prestigious scholarships, they take time to have webinars so that they tell you what they are looking for. But the lower tier universities generally don't. They have just their website, they are explaining. But what they also have is very attentive email, like staff which responds to emails when you ask. So some of the information that I share with people, I've taken time to email. I see a lot of people like to go on Facebook and ask and stuff. It's okay, but please always remember there are people that are on payroll who bath every day to answer emails central to the university email addresses. Ask. There's no silly question. Ask them. I ask them, I can send like students' results and say, is this student eligible to apply? I can ask about timelines. I can ask, for so many things. Any questions that I have on a scholarship, I generally don't incline to first asking on Facebook. I ask the institution, and then maybe I then add and I'll check Reddit and other blogs and stuff like that. But please, please, please attend a webinar. And ideally, it's good to attend those 12 months in advance so that you're not attending and wanting to apply immediately. But you can say, okay, fine, I want to apply to Chevening next year. What do I need to understand about Chevening? You attend webinars, you start planning and all of that. This goes even for students that are still in uni or students that are still in high school. Find out like right now, the University of Oxford is open. You want to apply next year. Attend now for the undergrad. Find out what they want. If you attend, I tell you, you will move differently than how you move when you don't know what is required. So you start, after attending, you start strengthening your academic stats and experience. You start looking for initiatives. You start also documenting things better, taking pictures and recording, posting on your LinkedIn and all of that. Starting conversations, logging into certain things that maybe certain supervisors are doing, so that you show face, because some universities actually track what they call demonstrated interest to see, did you attend the webinars? Did you attend anything? Did you participate in anything, to show that you're really interested in attending our university? How am I doing on time? Oh gosh. All right. Renette, I have so many things to say. Let me go through this and then we do the questions.
Okay.
Right? We're ending what time? It's 8.
Well, we're ending at 8, so I'm going to give you around 5 minutes to round up, then we're going to discussion.
Okay. All right. So let me go on this actual profile, the example of strong profile. So I used case studies. So for the undergrad, I used computer science. For the postgrad, I used social work. Right? I didn't want to use STEM alone because people be like, oh, scholarships are for STEM people. So there are scholarships for every sector, guys. There's a scholarship for every degree program. There's no degree that is useless in terms of scholarship applications. So for academic excellence, you can see the grades, and I put examples of the leadership in terms of the impact that they need to do, your robotics, your ICT club, offering free coding, free tutoring and stuff like that. But I want to mention one key thing on these activities. I see this mistake happening a lot. There are things that used to work in 2017. Just because your cousin who went to America or who went to UK on a fully funded scholarship, they tutored at Harare Children's Home, which is what my brothers did. In 2026, you want to go and tutor at Harare Children's Home. You need to improve, right? You need to improve your portfolio. You can do the same concept, tutoring at Harare Children's Home, but now what do? You add AI tools to your tutoring. So you are doing the same thing that someone in 2017 did, but you are adding something new. So you cannot keep recycling. We've seen people do sanitary pads drive. It worked. It moved. People got scholarships. People got into Yali, doing pads and stuff. It doesn't mean in 2026 you're supposed to also start a pad drive and whatever. but you can build on something else. Find the ideas, but find competitive, unique ways to do the same thing in 2026. And right now, there's lots of funding in AI. So in whatever field you are, if you can pair whatever with AI, you are good to go. So there are STEM competitions, Olympiads, hackathons, science fairs. These competitions exist in all fields. They are, if your child is an arts person, they are writing competitions. There's just a lot in that space. If your child is a commercial person, there is also recently I shared the Reserve Bank. They have a competition that they're doing for checking the next governor, RBZ young governor and stuff like that. So there's quite a lot. There are Olympiads for commercials people and all. So use this template to come up with your own for the combination that you're doing. I did for computer science. Then postgrad, we are doing for social work, right? So social work, the experience has to do with your NGOs, your government, hospital, community organizations. So NGOs may be difficult to get into, government may be difficult, hospitals, but you can find, and community organizations are churches. Churches are the easiest really to penetrate. You do at your church, you start initiatives with your church and stuff like that. Those matter. You can actually have a recommendation letter written by your priest or your pastor. Those are actually strong. There are institutions that want recommendations from pastors actually. So it also works. So you find initiatives that you start and lead. Don't just aim to just participate, to just say I was a member of this, whatever. We need to see leadership. We need to see community impact. We need to see deliverables, things that you did. Also look at doing leadership programs and fellowships. There is one young world. There are so many of these initiatives in Africa, in Asia, in the UK. They are free, the applications, and you just need to demonstrate a few things. If you win one, your master's application is now solid. So please apply your Obama leadership, your Yali, and all. There are so many. And if you just want to say, even by sector, to say these fellowships for someone who did petroleum engineering, you find them. They are there. If you do for someone who did electrical engineering, I think I remember seeing one recently. It's there within the SADC, within African Union, within Asia. You will find, I shared one early this year for China. It was actually needing people from 18 years to about 30 years, I think, whether you were still finishing high school or you were done with your undergrad. They were very open and they wanted people in STEM, different initiatives and stuff like that. So there's a lot that you can do. What you need to do is open your mind. And what you need to do is be aware that these scholarships, they are competitive, guys. Very, very competitive. People are applying for different regions. And if you are applying, there are some that are lesser competitive because they are saying, let's say, if it's MasterCard, they're taking from every country. So maybe you are competing against Zimbabweans. So if you're competing against Zimbabweans, most of our people are not applying. I've seen scholarships where my students will be told you're the only Zimbabwean who applied. So many times it happens every year. It's not even funny. They are the only Zimbabwean who applied. Last year we got into ASA, Africa Science Academy in Ghana. There were 2 Zimbabweans who applied, and both of them, they were students that I was assisting. And one of them got in. 2 Zimbabweans. Imagine, I shared it on Facebook. I shared it on the Zizo group. I shared it on my platforms. Only 2 Zimbabweans applied. So you guys are not applying. More than creating strong profiles, we also need you guys to apply. Rejections are part of life, and if we take the same attitude we have from Jolo Kuti, we go into relationships in and out, and we get rejection, we don't give up. Let's apply. The rejections give us feedback. We learn as we go. Some universities are kind enough to tell you feedback. Some they won't, most of them don't, but some are kind enough to tell you feedback. So I think I'm just about done, Brunette. The other things they can learn, or I'll speak about them when I'm doing questions.
Okay, wow, yeah, that was a lot of information. Thank you, Anna. It's quite comprehensive and quite interesting, yeah. And it also opens up our mind to what we should think about and when you should actually start thinking about these things. So for all participants, your cameras and mics have now been activated, but please mute your mic. But you can show interest in asking a question by raising your hand using the palm button on the top. So in the meantime, while we're waiting to see if we've got questions. So Anna, one thing that I want to ask is how can parents or applicants distinguish between good universities for scholarships and useless universities? Because I think we had this issue back then about students applying to Cyprus with scholarships, and then their whole road was blocked, or students going to useless universities in India, and then they come here and their degrees cannot be ratified. So how can parents or applicants distinguish whether this is a good university, this is a good scholarship at a good university, or this is just a university just trying tricks?
Okay. What I'll tell you is there's no fake university that gives fully funded scholarships. So maybe also that's why I do fully funded, because most of these fake unis or unaccredited unis, they lure people with the term scholarship, but there is actually no scholarship to talk about. So they will give you like a typical Black Friday sale where we are saying the price was $100, now it's $50, but in actual fact the price was $50. So one thing that needs to guide you is, you as a parent, you need to be aware of the school fees per region. Our university tuitions, they are guided generally by region. So you find that the public universities in SA, in Zambia, in Namibia, tend to fall under the same category, except the top institutions like your UCTs and stuff. But these public institutions, the lower tier or mid tier, they are around about $600 to $700. So that's the fees for that region. If you look at Asia, your India, your Chinas and stuff like that, the most expensive university that you find in China probably costs $8,000 per year, but the average are costing about 1.5, which is what they are telling you you are paying after a scholarship. So they will tell you you've gotten a 50% scholarship, so the remaining balance is 1,500, but actually that's the actual fees. So they tend to lure you using those tactics and stuff like that. And another way to tell is when you have an agent who doesn't want any money. They'll assist everything for you for free. If something is for free, you are the product. There's a transaction that's taking place there, because how are they paying the rentals, the data, and all of those things, right? To offer you a free application session. They are being paid a commission based on you enrolling at that institution. So whatever information you are getting and advice is based on that. So you need to take precautions, check university rankings, Google, even to just say this university reviews, and type Reddit at the end. Reddit is full of a lot of reviews for different institutions in different countries. And then lastly, before you take your child to any country, always check with Zimche if the university that you're taking your child and the program that they are enrolling for is accredited back in Zimbabwe, because we are Zimbabweans, we may need to come back home. So if you go and do a degree that is not valuable in Zimbabwe, how are you going to work and all? And then you can also then compare in different countries like America, Canada, Australia, Germany, to see if that university is also accredited there. With AI, it's now easier.
Okay. Yeah, so for anyone who's listening, please make sure that the university that you want to go to is actually accredited, so that you don't waste your time or even your child's time going to study at a university that will give you challenges in the future. So Anna also had another question. While I'm asking the question, I'm going to ask my co-hosts to come after me if they have any questions. If not, that is also okay. But I have one last question, and I see my brother Solomon is with us today. I think this will also be in your field. So we understand that we need to create a profile, right? but there's a human component to this creation of a profile. Are people supposed to be really interested? Because I think personally, as a person, you should be invested in it, but not only to do it for show. Not to say today I'm going to the children's home to give sweets. I take pictures and I take the sweets back. You see, it's like there's a human component to the side of creating this profile. So how do we balance it? How do we ensure that anyone who is trying to participate in the community or to keep a record of their community participation also understands that they're dealing with people at the other end who are receiving their efforts and not just monetize them for their own scholarship profile and say, okay, you see, I was at Sharara Children's Home, you see all these kids are poor, I gave them sweets, and you're actually causing more harm than good. How do we balance it?
Well, the good thing now, a lot of these institutions, they have been bombarded with so many requests. So now you just don't go and do things that you want to do. They really give you the guidelines, right? They give you the guidelines. And also you need to familiarize yourself with the laws as well in terms of sharing pictures with kids and stuff like that and all. So whilst you want to create your profile, you need to seek the proper permission from institutions, because remember, you need those institutions to write you recommendation letters. So if you don't do it properly, they will not write recommendation letters. If you're going to do like I do schools and stuff, you have to seek permission from the Ministry of Education, and they will give you guidelines in terms of what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do in terms of pictures and the work that you do with the students and all of that. So it's also some of the things that I help students be aware of when they are building their profiles, because you may have a profile that then will not be able to be used because you violated a lot of human rights laws and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Tatenda or Professor Edmond, do you have questions or contributions?
Thank you so much, Anna, for the presentation. It has been really insightful. I'm sure many people have learned a lot from that. Yeah, I totally agree that creating a profile is very important, and you really need to be intentional with what you are doing. And I think for those who want to apply for grad school, I think you need to be really more careful in how you are going to present yourself, so to speak, because the important thing really in most cases is your proposal, how you are going to demonstrate that you have capability to conduct that research. Because I'll give an example of a case that I was handling where they've got the grades, they've got all those glittering things, but when you read the proposal, you can see that they are clueless really in what they intend to do. So it's really important that you get an idea of what is expected. Then another thing that is really important again is the grades. And I thank you for mentioning that just because you've got distinctions or A's, right? There are 1,000 more people who have distinctions and A's. Some of them in more relevant cases. So really making yourself stand out is really important. And again, just a comment on the scholarships. Thank you for bringing that up about the issue of run by the Nightingale universities that offer so-called scholarships. I think it's really important that we go beyond just saying it's accredited by ZimChair, because I actually contacted ZimChair sometime last year, because they had about 3 universities which in their own countries were labeled as diploma mills, but ZimChair had approved them. And these universities were now advertising, saying that, oh, we are approved by ZimChair. I contacted the then director about that issue, and I hope they rectified. So it's really important that you would go beyond it saying that it's accredited by ZimChair. If you are going for law, you need to know that the Law Society of Zimbabwe is going to be waiting for you. If you are going to medicine, I'm sorry, if you did your medicine in India or China, you are not going to practice in Zimbabwe. That's the sad reality. You are not, right? And it's more structural things. So it's really important that people really understand. If you're going for engineering, there are agencies that do accreditation for engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
most of those universities in China that are doing civil engineering, mechanical engineering, they are all not under the Sydney Accord. So you are actually wasting your money.
Yes.
So just because you get all this scholarship, there is a lot more work that needs to be done to just show that degree can be used. I'm sorry, I have to run to another meeting right now.
So thank you, Prophet Mon. So Anna, I think you agree with the comments. So we'll go to the question so that we catch up with the time. So the first person to ask a question is Rotendo. May you please, okay, you've unmuted your mic. May you please ask a question and then put down your hand. Rotendo.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. I've started my application since last year. I've received a lot of rejections, and this year I'm applying again, and I would like to make it better. I think I really appreciate the information that you said that we need to build our profiles, but my issue was with the reference because I am applying for a post-grad. So the company that I was working for had some issues with the tax returns, blah, blah, blah. And it ended up changing its name. And there was a lot of scandal around the company. So now I am no longer confident enough to use that company as a reference because of the history that is online about the company. So I was wondering if these universities or institution check those backgrounds as well, the company backgrounds and the likes. And mind you, the last time I went through all the stages, I only failed the last stage. So this time I want to do it better. So can you please assist me on that one? How do I go through it?
I don't really think, this is just my personal opinion. I don't really think that admissions officers have the time to really Google a company and check to see, if the company had scandals and stuff like that. These things have nothing to do with you. You are mentioning the role that you played in that company, unless you were part of the scandal, then it changes everything. But if it's a company that shut down, or if it's a company that liquidated, you worked as an administrator or whatever, you mentioning that, it really has no bearing or effect on you as a person. And congrats, if you're actually going through rounds, it says a lot about your profile. So what then it means is that you need to improve your interview skills, because that's where most likely you failed. So you need to improve your interview skills. And sometimes it doesn't mean that they are bad, but it means maybe the pool was more competitive in that sitting and stuff like that. But you just take it as feedback to say, okay, maybe I didn't answer this question. So take the feedback, the questions that you were asked there, and see how best you could answer. And also, when you are now reapplying, especially to the same scholarships that you once applied, you need to show growth. You can't apply with the same application that you used last year. You need to add things to say, in the past 12 years, this is what I've been doing, and I'm back again.
Okay, then the last thing, sorry, I've got another question that I think that one, I don't know if it's a question or maybe it's a contribution. I noticed last year when I was applying, one of the scholarships, I think 2 or 3 or more, they did not accept reference that has got email addresses that go like nananani@gmail.com or
yes, that's true.
Yahoo. They only wanted organization.co.zw, something like that, organizational emails. But the issue with the institutions that we have, I don't know how we are going to handle this as Zimbabweans. Most companies, especially for me, I've worked in the government institutions, those emails do not work. So most people use their personal emails when they receive information from their personal emails. They don't have email addresses that are under any company. So that is another hurdle that I went through when I was applying.
It is a hurdle, and to be honest, it's just an unfair thing because it's got nothing to do with you but the institution. But that's why it's important sometimes to also find places where you volunteer, where they have domains and stuff like that, right? So you're actually
Yes.
carefully selecting, because usually the most important recommendation for scholarship application, you need an academic recommendation. So the academic recommendations, they have the email addresses. Now all of them, they do, in terms of postgrad studies. For high school, we still have challenges. And I've had parents pay for domains for a year sometimes because they just have to,
Yes.
so that their child pays. But for a company, unless if it's a company, you can pay. But if it's the government, you can't pay for a domain for the government of Zimbabwe. They will not even allow you to
No,
do
you
it.
can't.
So
Definitely.
try and
Yeah.
find other boards. Let's say you are an accountant. If you're going to volunteer at ICAS or something, then you can actually get them to write. I'm a member of the Internet Society Zimbabwean chapter, and they've written recommendation letters for me for certain things that I was doing successfully, because I am getting from there, because I'm not currently employed. So I need somewhere. So you have to position yourself so that the second recommendation that complements your academic recommendation has a domain.
Okay, do you
Yeah.
mind if I jump in a little bit here, guys? So thank you, Rutendo. We'll move on to the next person. So
Okay.
just in case anyone has got personal questions, you can contact Anna after this discussion. But so next we've got Gloria, then after Gloria we have Edmore. In the meantime, Anna, can you move to one of your last slides where you had questions from the registrants, right?
Okay.
So Gloria, can you please go ahead and ask? Can you make your questions short and prompt, and one question and then a short answer from Anna, and then we move forward? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the presentation, Anna. At least you made me happy that scholarships are not really meant for poor, but it's an investment. I wanted to ask, me, I'm not doing it for myself, but for my daughter.
Okay.
She's currently in primary right now. She will be doing a grade 7 next year. Then I wanted to find out from you, you were saying you have an academy that might train the kids on how to start preparing for that strong CV. When is it appropriate for her to enroll?
Okay, I'm currently starting at Form 3. I don't think I possess the skills to handle the Form 1s and 2s as yet. So what I have done is I have a WhatsApp channel. I've shared it a lot on my Facebook and stuff like that. If you just search for it, you'll find it. If you message me on my number, I can send it to you, where I'm speaking mostly to the parents, and I'm trying to help them understand what needs to be done as early as possible. So the Form 1s and 2s, they'll be on you, right? You are helping them and creating those interests. And the number one thing that I would recommend is reading. Get her to read. Get her to read books, different types of books, not just novels or whatever, but different types, biographies and all of that. When we get to Form 3, we have a reader, and reading, really, a lot of things that we need on earth, they are in books. So if they're a reader, we've done half the job.
Okay, so thank you very much, Anna, for that short
Thank you
reply.
so
So
much.
for any follow-up question, Gloria, you can contact Anna in private. And so thank you, Edmore.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Maybe I would ask Anna to comment briefly on age limits, particularly for those applying for postgrad.
Okay.
Thank
Masters, most of them, they're 35 and below. PhD, 45 and below, but there are still quite a lot of age limitless postgrad scholarships. For example, your Chevening doesn't have, Fulbright doesn't have, which other ones that I can think of quickly? There are quite a lot that also don't have these limits. And then university scholarships, if you go to particular universities that have scholarships, most of them, they don't have the age limits. They'll be open. So you need to find the ones that are really suitable for you, for your field, and for your age group. But there's something for everyone. It may be a smaller pool that they have left if you are now over age limit, but the age limits exist. For undergrad, it's 25 and below. I've seen a few that I think Japanese mixed goes to 27 years. I don't think I've seen much that has. I think there's one actually for Belgium, Vlorius. It has 35 years for undergrad. I think it's the only one that I've seen. But generally, majority, it's below 25.
Okay, so I just want to chip in here a little bit. Yes, there are some scholarships that have age limits, but most of these are tend to be developmental scholarships, right? But if you go to merit scholarships, right? If you go to merit scholarships, pure merit scholarships, you might be within the age bracket, but they're going to go for the young guys, right?
Yes.
They're going to go for the fresh guys. So if you're 45 and you're competing with someone who's 21 for the same PhD, my friend, I think that's a huge challenge. But anyway, thank you for the question, Edmo. I think it has helped other people here in this forum. So next, we're going to go to Professor Wilfred Njabulo, and then after that, we go to the chairperson, Dr. Tatenda Zinyemba. Professor Njabulo, we can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes. It's not a question. It's just a comment based on my experience. The presenter actually mentioned that sometimes those who review the applications don't really care much about the institutional reputation, about what you write, the organizations that you worked for in terms of their reputation and stuff like that. I beg to differ in terms of my experience on that. Nowadays, quite a number of scholarships, they actually scan through everything in terms of what you are bringing through in terms of your application. Some individuals actually even go through your social media handles to try and see who they are bringing in terms of national security, in terms of whether you are the best fit for whatever scholarship you are applying for, because it's got an implication also on what you are bringing through, what they would benefit by having you there. So I would like individuals to be very careful, especially about what they post about themselves, how they portray themselves, because quite a number of times the scholarship reviewers actually look for those things and review them to try and get to know the person that they are bringing in.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Professor, for that point. Especially the social media aspect, we really have to be careful about what we say, what we post, the images that we post, what we support or what we don't support as well. So thank you. So Dr. Tatenda.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Brunette. So I also wanted to add on some comments based on the presentation. I think there's some very valid gems that were presented and given. And I think my mind kind of went to people who may not have maybe good internet access, people who may not have resources that allow them to apply for scholarships at the undergrad level or even at the master's level based on like maybe life not leading them in the right direction as far as that's concerned, and maybe they're limited to doing the undergrad in Zimbabwe or even in Africa. I think if you want to be an academic, I think I'll speak to those people. There is nothing wrong with doing your master's in Zim, your bachelor's and master's in Zim. The most important thing is reflecting that you have good research skills and you connecting with academics that are publishing, particularly in our organization where we have many researchers who you could partner with, who are doing things that you like or who you aspire to be like. If you're able to afford to go to university in Zim for your bachelor's, that's fine. For your master's, that's fine. However, if you then want to do your PhD, you can then think about applying for PhDs. And usually at that level, you have to signal that I am good at what I do. It's more like applying for a job. You can't apply for a job you don't qualify for. You have to actually be good at what you do. I think that's a different conversation to have compared to those maybe applying for undergrad scholarships. That's really what I wanted to add. I think it's not a dead end. There are some people maybe have applied repeatedly and not have been accepted. I would say do not delay and wait 2-3 years of not getting a degree because you want to be abroad so bad. Maybe in those 2-3 years, whilst you're applying for scholarships elsewhere, get a master's in 1 year in Zim or in 2 years in Zim, right? And then think about maybe even getting a second master's or even getting a PhD elsewhere, because you will get more skills. And in a good program, you can also interact with researchers at those universities who are at that level, who teach postgraduate and do research.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much for the very valid contribution, Dr. Nyamba. Yes, indeed. Mostly the undergrads from Zimbabwe are quite strong outside. I think they're quite competitive. So if you can do it in Zimbabwe when you don't have a scholarship, it will be very great, because undergrad scholarships are very competitive, like Anna said, because you aim for countries that sponsor undergrad scholarships. Usually it's America, and sometimes getting in there without a very strong profile might be challenging. But so thank you. So the next person, who is the last person to ask, is Solomon. Then you go to the question and answer segment on Anna's slides. But please note, on Anna's slides, we're going to answer questions that are general, not personal. I wish you can get more feedback from Anna on a personal basis. So if you post a question which can only be answered by Anna on a personal basis, which doesn't benefit everyone, please contact her on your email address or on a number on a channel, and then we're just going to try and answer questions that are general, that cover everyone, that everyone can benefit from. So Solomon, you can unmute your mic.
Hello. Thank you very much. I don't have a question. I just want to add to what has been said by the presenter and other panelists. I'll just be very brief. One thing that I want to emphasize is that when it comes to scholarship, like what the presenter said, it's not a charity. They don't, when they are recruiting, normally they don't focus on, yes, of course you can, but background is not something that is considered, because scholarship is about merit. So never waste your time by saying, I'm from an underprivileged family, I'm an orphan, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't help you in any way. And another thing that I want to talk about, I'm much more familiar with Erasmus Mundus, because I went through the process and I did my master's being supported by Erasmus Mundus. There are so many master's programs from A to Z.
Yes.
You normally I've seen that when it comes to scholarships or maybe education in general, most people, they tend to say, which degree can I do with more opportunities? There is no degree with more opportunities than others. You can, if you see, I'll post on the WhatsApp group. If you see the catalog for Erasmus Mundus, they have more than 50 master scholarships for every discipline. And when it comes to funding, they fund everything from accommodation, flights, and plus a stipend of something like 1.5 euros per month for you to take care of yourself. So when it comes to requirements, what they normally want is a strong CV. Yes, I know it's very difficult for people to do some publications when they are still at the level of undergrad, but I think these days, considering the competition that is out there, I think it's very important to try to do something when it comes to publications. And at the same time, they also require a motivational letter that directly speaks to so many issues. For example, your background. But when it comes to background or your profile, you don't need to repeat the CV, because yes, there's a relationship, but you don't need to repeat. So you need to detail your profile and how that profile relates to what you want to start and what you want to, as well as your career goal. And there's also an area where you talk about the stability of the institution and the program that you want to start. So this is just a background, and there are also different scholarships. For example, here in Ireland, they have different masters, PhDs. So for masters and PhDs, there are so many scholarships that you can explore and try to apply. But when it comes to undergrad, yes, they are there, but they are very few. So in short, this is what I wanted to say. And so here and there, I used to assist people to apply for some of these. For example, this year I assisted someone who applied for a PhD here in Ireland, and he got the scholarship. So maybe if there are people who want to contact me, I think my phone number is there. If I have time, I can assist here and there. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Solomon, and thank you very much to everyone who was asking questions. So we've got questions from the registrants. So I'm going to, Anna, I don't know if this is okay with you. I'm going to go through the questions and determine which ones you should answer and which ones you should not answer, because some I think that
that's okay.
Yeah. So because some have already been answered through the presentation. For example, which scholarships are best for Zimbabweans wanting to do a master's in 27? You've already heard Anna talking about Valerius, and then Solomon talking about Erasmus. So you can find this online. And which EU countries offer scholarships for architectural engineering? This is personal. You go to Anna. How best can one overcome US visa requirement hurdles after securing an opportunity there? This Anna also addresses in a channel. So how do I secure an undergrad scholarship at top universities in Europe, Australia, or New Zealand for medicine? I think this also fits back into your scholarship profile, right, and your grades. Then best countries and scholarships for someone graduating in August in data science or IT. You go in personally to Anna. How do I apply for scholarships in Zimbabwe and abroad? And which programs offer the best career opportunities? Solomon just said there are no best career opportunities. Do what you love, you get the scholarship, and then you go for it. Next slide, Anna. So how do I build a scholarship profile for a doctorate?
Okay. So maybe I skipped something here.
Okay. So how do I build a scholarship profile for a doctorate degree? This has been hinted on publications, but Professor Edmond, who is one of the senior admins of ZRN, said we're going to have a separate session for doctorate degrees, right?
Yes.
So am I eligible for postgrad scholarships with only attachment experience, 6 years post-graduation? Yes. Anna said everything is possible. Can I get a master's scholarship with a 2.2 LM degree? Or a 2.2 GPA on a 2.1 degree class? Anna, can you answer this one?
Yes, you can, depending on your experience and your profile, but yes, you can.
Okay, so thank you. Do I stand a chance if I studied both undergrad and postgrad through distance learning at UNISA? Anna?
I'd like to think that is possible. I've never worked with anyone who did with UNISA, unfortunately, although I've never had a case like that, but I would like to think it's possible.
Okay,
I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Professor
Please do say.
I know someone who actually got a scholarship to New Zealand to do their masters from a degree from ZO. They did a bachelor's in agriculture from ZO, and they got a scholarship. So again, like what Anna was saying, it's your profile. What are you going to demonstrate that you really are going to bring something to the grad school?
Okay, super. So how do I build a versatile STEM profile for a child heading into high school? So Anna hinted on this, but also I've noticed in Zimbabwe, the institutes which are running STEM internships for children in high school. So Anna, do you want to respond to this, to add some more to this?
Yes, if the child, look at the high schools that participate in the global competitions like ISEF or with the Zimbabwe Science Fair that have a strong affiliation and participate in those activities, because those are the activities that matter, instead of just saying, oh, my child is doing robotics or whatever at such an institution. Look at the affiliation, Zimbabwe Science Fair.
Okay, so thank you, Anna. So the next question, how can biotechnology students position themselves for scholarships and jobs given the limited local opportunities? If you're a member of the Zimbabwe Research Network, may please come and have this discussion in the Zimbabwe Research Network WhatsApp groups. I think we've got more people who are doing biotech who can ask this to in the local and in the diaspora. Next slide, Anna.
So it's a PhD, so you can
Okay.
This can be answered at the PhD session, right?
Yes, so this can, for the PhD and research funding, this can be answered in the PhD session. So I think this is the last slide, right, Anna?
Yeah, it is, but I want to talk about this in 2 minutes because it's one that I've seen to a lot of people. A lot of people, when they're looking for scholarships, they think that everything has to come for free. So when you tell them, no, you have to write English tests or you have to do your certificate evaluation or the standardized tests that you need, they don't have money. Unfortunately, there are no organizations or people that I know that have like a funding to fund you to get your passport and stuff like that. Some scholarships may say they can help you with a passport or visa fees. I've seen MasterCard doing it, but generally a lot of them, for you to even apply for the university, you need to have submitted your passport as an ID. So I would recommend that whilst I know funds are very, very tight and stuff, I always recommend students that I work with, undergrad and postgrad, to find work that they can do to raise these funds because.
Okay. Anna, are you still online?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so thank you. I think it's breaking a little bit, but we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Okay, so thank you, Anna. So as you heard from Anna, her takeaway home message is you need to invest in yourself so that you can also be invested in, right? So don't forget to invest in as much as you are applying for a scholarship. You also have like something that you need to contribute to. It might be just maybe in terms of hours, in person hours, but also a little bit of financial input is needed for sending documents, for certifying documents, for writing tests, for going for visas, etc. This might also be on you. So be prepared for this as well. But so thank you so much, Anna. You can stop sharing your slides and we'll share these slides with everyone in the Zimbabwe Research Network, but also with everyone who had registered to try and share these slides with you. The recorded version of this meeting will be on the Zimbabwe Research Network YouTube channel. We're going to share this link with you. We're also going to share it with Anna so that you can also share it with participants who came through your channel. So thank you very much to everyone who joined. Thank you to Anna, the presenter. Thank you to my co-host, Dr. Tatenda Zinyemba and Professor Edmond. And thank you to all the participants. So for the next presenter, thank you, Anna. So for the next presenter, we're going to inform you in the Zimbabwe Research Network groups of who is going to be presenting at the end of July. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.